lads, it is Talking Reds, Friday's Talking Reds with myself, Gareth Roberts. Got Paul Cope with me this morning. And the first things first, we're reacting to the news that Jordan Henderson is the Football Writers Association Men's Footballer of the Year. He's obviously captained Liverpool to the title, which was the big thing. And now he's got this individual award. But I don't know if you've seen his quotes on it, Kofi, like... quality, to be fair, as you would expect from the man. He says, as grateful as I am, I don't feel like I can accept this on my own. I owe a lot to so many people, but none more so than my current teammates who've been incredible and deserve this every bit as much as I do. Virgil van Dijk and Sadio Mane also finished in the top 5, along with Kevin De Bruyne and Marcus Rashford. Henderson also said, I accept the award on behalf of the whole squad, because without them, I'm not in a position to be receiving this honour. These lads have made me a better player, a better leader, and a better person. And if anything, I hope those who voted for me did partly to recognise the entire team's contribution. There have been one or two journalists talking about why they did vote for Henderson. A lot of them are sort of saying, you know, he epitomises Liverpool's spirit and stuff like that. Obviously, there's the stuff he did around the fundraising for the coronavirus with all the various captains during lockdown as well. And he won another award this week as well, which we'll come on to in a bit, the Anfield Rap's Embodiment of Liverpool FC Award. But yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. But I mean, I get that people will go down the tribal route with this, and they'll maybe say, you know, look at De Bruyne's goals and assist record this season, and, you know, why isn't it him? But when there was someone on the telly just now from the Football Writers, you know, they were saying it's as much about like influence, about the story, about, you know, what they've done as a person almost, as well as a footballer. So it's not solely sort of about, you know, raw statistics. And I think that's the key thing, isn't it? Surely, you know, after 30 years and a pandemic, you know, Jordan's captained the Reds to a title.
Yeah, I wonder whether it'd be interesting to look back over these awards, you know, over the generations and see whether it's changed. Because it just feels to me like it has changed a bit, that it's not just about anymore like what you did on the pitch. It's about everything. It's about, because Joe Sterling's name was in the mix a while ago because of everything he does around racism and Joe bringing that to the public attention and challenging it and everything. And I think maybe in the modern age you can't get away from that. You can't get away from what is it to be a professional footballer? How influential are you on and off the pitch? And it's funny, like I actually think that the nice thing for the Anfield Rap is that these journalists who talk about the Football Writers Award, they're basically saying what the Anfield Rap's award is, which is the embodiment of LFC, aren't they? Like they're saying, and even the way Henderson says that, I like to think that some of them have voted for me because it's like, well, who do you vote for in this team? Because there's so many players of the season will actually vote for the captain because he sums them all up and he embodies everything and he's the leader, so he should get it on behalf of everybody else. Because there were concerns, and it'll be interesting when the PFA one comes out, about split votes, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Like no Liverpool players would actually get it because there's so many to pick from. I mean, it's mad. Even when you give that list, it's mad who isn't in the top 5. Like Mo Salah's not in the top 5 players of the season. I always think Trent, Robertson. And all the De Bruyne stuff's really interesting because he is clearly an unbelievable footballer. Like, no one's going to deny that. If he won Player of the Season, no one's going to argue with that. He's brilliant. But equally, like, we've got 2 fullbacks there who are pretty much matching him for assists. And you're like, well, and over 2 seasons, I think Trent beats him by a few. And Robertson's on the same as him. So even in that category, you're like, well, yeah, he's brilliant, but our players, I think we've gone the other way now. I think our players are so brilliant that people are sort of underestimating how good they are.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of that going on. I think that is particularly true of Trent. I think we, as Liverpool fans, seem to recognise how good he is, but you don't always, I think anyway, with all my biases. But I don't think he always gets the credit he maybe deserves. Because as you say, you know, De Bruyne 19 assists and 11 goals this season, which is phenomenal. You know, Trent from right back, 13 assists, equally phenomenal. And it's I think it's 11 for Robertson. On the PFA award, which you mentioned there, doesn't seem quite clear when that's being awarded or when that's being handed out. Can't quite find online what the score is about that. But obviously that is to come. De Bruyne is the bookies' favourite to win that one. And it's interesting because Pep Guardiola's out there today, a quote from him, and it's lovely. It's lovely, and like, you know, you like to think that Liverpool are getting under the skin of other people because of how good they are. You know, that's always a sign that you've made it, if you like. On the Player of the Year award, he said the winner will be from Liverpool. When we won the Premier League, the Liverpool players won. When they win the league, I'm pretty sure they're going to win Player of the Season. These awards are always for Liverpool. I mean, it's funny that because this, you know, it's been Liverpool players the last 2 seasons that have won it. You know, you look at Mo Salah, gets it in 2018. You know, he's scoring 32 goals, 32 Premier League goals in a 38-game season, the most goals scored in a single Premier League season. I think he's a fairly worthy winner there, you know, of that particular gong. And then, you know, last season, Virgil van Dijk gets it. And you know, everyone was saying, weren't they, you know, like a defender doesn't normally get it. I think it was the first defender since John Terry, I think, to lift the award. But again, like, you know, as you just said there, like about De Bruyne, no one was really arguing with it. You know, I've seen a poll the other day, and it wasn't just the Liverpool fans for once, talking about, you know, who's the best centre-half in the world. And Van Dijk was coming out the winner on this poll, and I thought, well, that's what I think. But again, I'm a Liverpool fan. I'm prepared to hold my hands up and say, you know, I might not be watching other centre-halves as much as I do Van Dijk, but I don't really see that, you know, like, there's a conspiracy there, if you know what I mean. Like, Mo deserved to win that. Van Dijk was absolutely brilliant. Liverpool only pipped to the title by a single point and then win the Champions League. You know, who's begrudging either of those players an award apart from Pep Guardiola, it seems?
Yeah, well, look, the first thing about that is it's mad, isn't it? Because I think people like Pep say these things thinking it'll upset us in some way, and they don't realise it has the opposite effect. We love it. Like, it's great. To win and annoy your opponents as much as you possibly can is like peak football, isn't it? That's as good as football gets. I remember when we had Rafa, I was like, I'm made up. Everyone hates him. I'm made up. Everyone else thinks we're horrible. And yes, and do you know what? Like, I hadn't thought of that really about it was the same the other way around. Especially, I think the Mo Salah year, you can't argue with that. When a player scores that many goals, that season he had was just phenomenal. And going back to the people being underestimated, he still suffers from that today. Like, this is a man scoring 20 goals every season, and people talk about him like he's rubbish. Like, I literally hear people saying he's crap, and you're like, I just don't know where to start with that conversation, so I leave it now. But I think they probably suffered from that a little bit last year, that they're so good and they've got so many good players that who do you give it to? Which ones do you give it to? So when we've got someone like Van Dijk who stands out so much, then it makes sense that he gets it. And the other side of it is funny that, like, there's accusations of a media bias towards Liverpool these days. Like, for lads and girls our age who've lived through 4 decades of this, and people older, the suggestion that there is a media bias towards Liverpool is like, wow, if that is true, how times have changed, because that's never been the case in my lifetime. So, yeah, like, who cares? At the end of the day, if it winds them up, great.
It's funny on that, isn't it? Because I used to religiously buy Through the Wind and the Rain fanzine back in the day, and they had a section called Mank Watch, and a lot of it was how the Daily Mirror, which they referred to as the Daily Mank, basically, was bigging up United and not giving Liverpool the coverage Liverpool deserved. And so, you know, here we are now, as you say, you know, 2020, and people think tables have turned. It is amusing. I mean, with City as well, it amuses me really about the sort of the desperation to be relevant, the desperation to be, you know, wanted and needed and loved and all the rest of it. Because you delve into their supporters' world, if you like, and you're always going on about that they don't get the coverage they deserve, that Liverpool get more and all this kind of stuff. And I mean, whatever else it might be, it's down to simple economics, though. You know, having worked in the newspaper industry, like, if they think something is going to sell, they do it. Equally, you know, now that we're in the world of clicks, if they think something is going to get clicked, they do it. And Man City just isn't as big a sell as Liverpool is. And also as well, the story of this season, the story of Jordan Henderson even, is much more romantic than anything going on at Manchester City right now, let's be honest, because, you know, Jordan's had that big journey, which, you know, we put a little video out there this week to tease our interview with Jordan Henderson, which we'll talk about in a second. And, you know, you're going all the way back, you're going back 9 years to when he signs for 16 to 20 million, depending on who you believed at the time. You know, and he's a young lad, he looks nervous in the press conferences. He goes through the period where Rodgers tells him, like, you're not guaranteed any football here, and I'm prepared to let you go to Fulham, with Clint Dempsey coming the other way. You know, you have all these sorts of periods in his career, really. And then he becomes the leader, and he becomes the man that he is now. And he, you know, takes the captain's armband, but with lots of criticism, you know, in some quarters, seemingly still getting that criticism right up until the present day. This feels like the first season now for him, where 99% of teams of people are finally on board that, you know, he's a good player, he's a good leader, he's a good captain. He deserves this award. He deserves to be up there the other night lifting the Premier League trophy. You can't argue anymore. You look a bit like a flat earther if you do, don't you?
Yeah, well, it's that funny. I said to you before we started recording, I love the wall behind you. And Joey, it reminds me, I should talk about this. It reminds me when, you know, you're a fan of it. You love a band before it's like dead popular. And you've always loved them, and then everybody else jumps on the bandwagon, and you're like, get off the bandwagon. I've been on this for ages. It's a bit like that for me with Jordan Henderson. It's like, where are all these people who used to hate him? Where have they all disappeared to? And let's be honest. And I think he must think this a little bit. You wouldn't be human if you didn't. You'd be like, you all seem to have disappeared. Like, it's not like it was some people loved Jordan Henderson and some people were just neutral to him. Like, the vitriol he used to get and the way we used to... I actually refer to him when I'm talking to people now, like the Jordan Henderson, like, effect. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, I used to have this conversation with Neil where you'd end up in a conversation about Jordan Henderson and the people were being so vitriolic about him and so unreasonably so that you'd end up taking this opposite position to defend him. So you'd end up sort of arguing he was the greatest player on the planet, even though you didn't believe that. Because it was like, I have to go as far the other way as you are from reasonable, when all we want to do is have a conversation about his pros and cons, his strengths and weaknesses. And I think that's what, Joe, if you'd have sat down with Jordan Henderson 3 years ago and gone, so what's the good and bad bits of your game, mate? He'd have been able to tell you, and that's why he's got so much better. But he hasn't got, I've mentioned this before, like family members who hated him. And if you to talk to them now, you'd think he's just a different player now than he was 2 seasons ago. And I'm like, he's not. He's basically the same player. He's improved slightly, of course he has. He's like, we all said at the time, winning the European Cup was a big deal for Jordan Henderson. You could see it physically lift the weight off him. He's improved since then. But he's still fundamentally the same footballer he was 2 seasons ago, when loads of us already thought he was a really good, influential player. Going back to 13-14, I don't think it's ridiculous at all to say him getting sent off against Man City at the end meant we didn't win the league. And I know he doesn't accept that because he's so humble, but it's true. Brendan Rodgers thinks that he was the manager. Like, he was literally the manager of that team. That's how influential. And when was that? 6-7 years ago. How young was he then? That's how influential he was even then. So, yeah, I think it's brilliant for him. He's one of those lads, isn't he? You couldn't be happier for when he starts getting times like this. It's like, good for you, mate. Revel in it. I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately that is how I would sum up talking about Jordan Henderson, is that he is sound on top of everything else. He's a good lad, and it's good to have good lads on our side. It's good to get behind good lads and support them. And that's what we've done this week, really, in that we got to go down to Anfield and speak to Jordan earlier in the week to hand over the Anfield Rap's Embodiment of LFC award. This was voted for by yourselves, fans, people who follow the Anfield Rap online, and Jordan overwhelmingly won this one. He got 80% of the vote. And so we went down there this week, spoke to him at Anfield about being the captain, about the award, about winning the league, about pretty much everything, really. Here's a taster of that interview.
I just wondered, you're obviously in there, you're central to the culture of Liverpool, next to the man as you're the captain. What do you feel like the collective hunger is now to go on and win more and go on and win again and go again next season?
Yeah, I've always seen that, and that is really important because it's so hard to go on and to keep pushing, especially when you've won big trophies. I've looked at teams in the past that have maybe won Premier League or Champions League, and next season they're nowhere to be seen. And that can happen, but for us, we need to make sure that doesn't happen. We need to make sure that you're staying hungry, you're doing everything you can, you're working just as hard, if not harder, to be better, to improve, and to want more. And I can definitely see that within this group of players. I definitely see it within the manager, and if the manager gets any sense of that, I'm telling you now, it'll soon get snapped in the bud. Or what's to say?
Nipped in
the bud. It'll soon get nipped in the bud with him, and with the players as well. You know, they'll not sit back. They'll want more, as you've seen in the past year. But we need to keep that goal. We need to stay hungry. We need that desire, and you need to play like you've won nothing, which we've always done, and that's what the gaffer said. He wants a team to play like they've won nothing ever before, and if you do that and you play with that hunger and that desire, then we'll always have half a chance with the quality and the talent we've got within the team. So yeah, it'll be a challenge for sure. You know, sometimes it can happen without you knowing about it, so it's up to us to make sure that we're doing everything we can to improve, to be better, listen to what the manager says, and if we do that, then we'll have another opportunity next season to be successful.
Okay, so that was Jordan Henderson at Anfield this week, interviewed by myself and Neil Atkinson. If you want to watch the full thing, subscribe to the Anfield app, theanfieldapp.com/subscribe. Also, you can download our app on any platform, on any type of phone. Get that down and you will get some free tokens there to listen to some of our premium content. So if you want to have a go of the Jordan Henderson interview, get a little taste of what we do, you can do that as well. So yeah, get involved. The other thing I want to talk about then, Kopi, on today's Talking Reds is Frank Lampard. We all got caught up in sort of celebrating the fact that Liverpool had finally got their hands on the trophy and all that, and got that big moments and fireworks lighting up Liverpool and all the rest of it. But what got a little bit lost was that there was a game of football in among all that, and Liverpool won 5-3, scored some fantastic goals. But Lampard really wasn't happy about the award of the free kick that led to Trent's brilliant free kick into the top bin. And some footage has emerged the last sort of day or so, and it's made all the back page headlines today over here about him saying basically it's not. So he's saying to Linders, it's not a fucking foul, and I'm not asking you, so shut up. And then Klopp says something back to him, and he says, "You can fuck off as well. The only title you've ever won." I can't see you on screen here, and you're fucking giving it the big un. Fuck off. What I like is that, like, you can actually hear when you watch it a load of the Liverpool players, I presume it is, who were on the bench going ooh, which is quite amusing. And you can also hear, I think it's Adrian telling them to calm down. And then you also hear Lampard say, "Stop showing disrespect, sit down." And Klopp says he's been sat down for 5 minutes. So, you know, there's this little flashpoint over that free kick. And then, of course, Trent steps up, puts it in, and Linda's celebration is absolutely quality. he's first off the bench, he's bending his knees, he's giving it the full bifters. And what I liked about it, I watched Lampard's post-match interview before, and like he speaks well, do you know what I mean? But you can tell he's still absolutely fuming, like he's really struggling to keep that inner chimp caged up, because he's still fuming about the whole thing. But I think he realises, you know, I've got to say something, you know, a bit nicer now, and I've got to recognise that the champion. And like you can see him, like, you know, he's getting distracted by the fireworks. Then as he's talking, "We are the champions" is being played. There's a bit where he just goes, you know, "We're just going to have to suck this up." And I've got to be honest, like, after watching that and watching the clip and everything else, like, I've seen loads of people like raging about it and calling them all kinds. I'm all right with it, you know. I just kind of think if it was the other way around And, Klopp had done that with an opposition manager, or you could definitely see, for instance, Steven Gerrard doing that, 100%. For me, it just shows that, he's into the game, he's passionate about the game. And look, he tries to sort of polish it up later on. Again, that's a very human thing. He still can't resist, though. He still said it's a fine line between winning. Fair play, they've won the league, but don't get too arrogant with it. I think that's the one that sort of riled up some people, and they were a bit like, hang on, have you seen the way you celebrated when you won at Spurs? Have you seen the way you were at Derby when you had that rivalry with Leeds over Spygate and all that kind of thing? But yeah, I think the ultimate feeling on it is it's quite funny.
I'm with you, mate. And you know what? Like, I'll say up front, and maybe I'll get criticised for this because of who he's the manager of and where he's from and all that. But I like Frank Lampard. I think he's a nice fella. I think he'll be a good manager. And I think he talks sense. He's one of those fellas who, I'll listen to and go, yeah, I don't mind listening to his press conferences and all of that. I think he's massively lost it here, massively. Yeah. And we love talking about our psychology, don't we? And what he's massively doing is projecting onto Liverpool what's going on inside him, which is he's furious. He's absolutely furious that they're so far away and we're on top of the pile. And I get it. It's hard to watch. We've had to do it for 30 years with not just with them, but with our closest rivals. We had to sit and suffer while we watched Man United do it year in, year out. I know what it feels like. We all know what it feels like. And I just can't picture. I'd love to sit down with them and say, what were they actually doing, mate, that you think is arrogant around a free kick being awarded during a game? Why has that got anything to do with us winning the league or not? Our reaction would have just been our reaction. That's what the bench would have reacted like anyway. Last year, the year before. Doesn't matter. It's got no connection to us winning the league. You're just trying to connect it because in your head, you are furious. I thought the same thing as you. I didn't see the clip till last night. And he looks to me like he's ready to burst into tears through the entire interview. And that's probably just the rage inside him just trying to get out. And that's why he can't help. It's like every time he gets asked the question, he's thinking, when can I get to a point where I can say this thing? Because I want to have a dig. And as you said, I loved it when We Are the Champions starts playing and you can see he's like, when he said, we've just got to suck it up. You're like, yeah, mate, you do. Unlucky that you have to stand on the pitch and be part of this because no one else wanted to be there that night. And they literally drew the short straw. And on top of that, we mentioned this on the post-match pint. They have got everything to play for, and we had nothing to play for. Arsenal beat us a few days before, and we still beat them. We still, apart from a few silly mistakes, I thought we battered them. Like, I was looking at that thinking, you're miles off us. I don't care which, you might sign a couple of strikers, a couple of attackers, whatever. You're miles away. And I think that if he's honest with himself, he was trying to convince himself that was an even game. And if that's what if he genuinely thinks that, then they're further away than they even think, because they're not fit to lace our boots right now.
It was funny, yeah. When you were just saying then about you can literally see in the interview, he's dying, he's like twitching, and he's dying to properly go, but realises he's on camera type of thing. I think there's different versions of the interview. I think on the Sky one, Jeff Shreves actually says to him, the microphones pick everything up now, Frank, and sort of is saying to him, we've got that, lad.
We heard you.
But it's funny, the sucker up bit reminded me of when the famous interview with Harry Redknapp where he gets it with the footy while he's talking. Yeah. And he's absolutely fuming. He tries to resume the interview and he can't help it. He's still raging that he got hit by the ball, and then he turns around and says, "No wonder you're in the fucking reserves." And I've watched that so many times. I absolutely love it. And I thought we were going to get that. I thought it was going to be one of them from Lampard, but he did just about manage to compose himself. But in general as well, look, we've talked about two managers here of two good football clubs who are likely to be, up there next season. Maybe not right at the very top. I agree with you on Chelsea, see who they sign and stuff like that. But either way, in and around the top four, I think it's fair to say for both, them and definitely Man City. To see managers of those clubs sort of riled is great, isn't it? It's all part of the fun. I mean, I think boiling piss is always a good thing in sport. Let's be honest. Let's hold our hands up and say we enjoy that aspect.
Yeah, I talk to people about this all the time at the moment, mate. Like the dark side of being a human, and it's equally valid to everything else. Like, why deny it? Like, it's fun. It's part of it. Someone was chatting to me the other day about a sport in America banning people like giving each other grief, giving each other shit, and you're like, why? That's part of the game. It always has been. Like, that, I don't understand. And the reality is, I love talking about this stuff. They only get this wound up. Pep Guardiola and Lampard are only getting this wound up because of how good we are. If they thought they were close to us even, they wouldn't be this wound up. Like, look at us going back to the relevance thing and being loved. It's like the dead needy. Like, Guardiola's like a dead needy person. City, like, please love us, please love us. No, and it's no different. I love talking to people about this. People talk about like football clubs, cities, society. And I'm like, it's just people. It's just collections of people. What do you think when you meet a really needy person in real life? Do you love that person more or less than the person who's just cool and laid back and is like, I don't mind whether you love me or not? Everybody's more drawn to that person all the time. That's Jurgen Klopp. So the fact that they're making these allegations and they're saying these things about a side led by Klopp, who I would say universally is loved. I reckon in this, literally, I reckon if he ran for Prime Minister in this country, if it was possible, he would get voted in. Because people would be like, he talks sense, doesn't he? He's dead sound. He's actually, forget what everyone thinks about the supporters and the cockiness and all that. The actual management team and the coaching staff, renowned for being humble, hardworking, including everyone. So that of all the people for him to label this at Lampard, especially with that stuff, it's just like, come on, mate. But I couldn't be more with you on this, that it's sound. He even does say right at the end of the clip I saw, like he laughs and says, almost like it's in the heat of the moment. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's in the middle of the battle. These things happen. And I'm sure if he sat down calmly later, he'd be like, yeah, I lost my head there a bit, didn't I? And why wouldn't I? Basically, what happened, we gave away a free kick that I didn't think was a free kick, and then you put it in the top corner. Of course I'm annoyed. Everything else is just...
It's funny when that goes in as well, isn't it? Obviously, you see Pep celebrate, but you also see Lampard like knowing, like, you know, like just like, oh, I don't even want to look. I know they're all going absolutely mad, and then he sort of looked, and you just see him go like, and there's a thumb to someone, presumably maybe Linda's again, and you just think you're absolutely wrong. Like he can't help himself but do the thumb, because it's almost like he's got to do something.
Yeah.
I mean. One final pop at Manchester City, because why not? I just wanted to add that there is a video out there, should be easy enough for you to find if you go and have a look on Twitter, that someone's filmed inside Anfield, and it's just all the players sort of and the staff filing into the ground after the celebrations on the pitch the other night, and the singing like "Allez, allez, allez" and stuff like that. The singing like Liverpool songs as they're going up the steps. And I just thought, that's nice, isn't it? And, quite nice to see a side win the league and then sing about their own club rather than other clubs like Manchester City did on a plane once upon a time. Just saying. Listen, loads of stuff from the Anfield app, as ever. Building up to the Newcastle game at the weekend, the last game of the season. Loads of reviews and stuff to come. We're working on a video as well where we've got key contributors to talk about their favourite moments, their favourite matches of the season, and when we thought like this is on and we're going to win the league and that kind of stuff. So we're been filming that this week. Be filming a little bit more today. So if you subscribe to the video subscription, you'll be able to watch that because there are 3 subscription tiers. There's audio, video, and there is both. So yeah, check all that out on the AnfieldApp.com. Go and have a look. We'll be doing stuff all the way through as ever. And as far as we know, football will be back again in the middle of September, although we are all waiting for a confirmation of a date on that one. But whatever happens, Anfield App will be carrying on all the way through. And no doubt the mighty Reds will continue to boil some piss. I will bring you updates on that as we have it. That has been Talking Reds. Enjoy your weekend. Up the Reds.